Okay, so we are going to work today on a couple things. We're going to listen to a video, learn a few more expressions, and then we're going to work on the expressions with Allah in them that you prepared for today. Okay? We're going to work on those. So we're going to start with the video, which you have not seen yet, correct? And I'm actually going to play it initially without any volume. I want you to look and just kind of think about what kind of language, what they're doing, what sort of language you think that they're probably using, and kind of get ready to listen, doing a little bit of predicting and figuring out overall what they are doing here. Okay, with the partner, quickly, what kind of language do you think they're using? What are they doing? We have some lip readers here in our class. Okay, so tell me what's going on in this scene. Tell me what's going on. What kind of language overall? She comes in, tells her to sit down.
She's like, I need help. Something. He calls someone for her.
He calls someone. Uh-huh. Okay. She needs help with.
I don't know.
Wait, this.
I don't know.
Okay, you know, the fact that she's got these papers in front of her, looking at these papers, is actually kind of misleading, I've discovered, when you look at it without any sound. Because what's going on actually really has nothing to do with the papers that she's leafing through. So it's a bit kind of, so let's just go back again and do this kind of scene for scene. And you can tell me what you think is what is this? What is it called? Mish. So what was that? Ma salama. Allah يسلمك. What did he say? Before that? It was longer than that.
Yeah, maybe it's too much mouth movement.
Would you like to drink something?
Tashrabi ahwa. Do you say tashrabi ahwa? Maybe I just got that in my head, but it's ahwa. I don't really know.
It's probably ahwa.
What was that? What was that exchange? After she sits down. Yeah, Zaik, right? How are you? Taban, you have this. It has to be part of, you know, asking how you are. Meshi? Okay, Mish.
Tashrabi ahwa. I don't know.
Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and listen to this with sound.
I'm probably really wrong.
Okay, yalla. Khalina Nisma, and this time we're going to actually turn up the volume. Hopefully I won't blast you out. Let's see. I'll see how loud it is and then I'll adjust the volume. So what does he say? Yeah, E? Yeah, Yamin? Yeah.
مع السلامة الله
أستاذ سامر. أستاذ سامر. What did he say?
مع السلامة الله يسلمك
Allah يسلمك. Hear that? Ha? Allah. Allah. You really hear that ahlan wa sahlan ha in there. Allah الله الله يسلمك الله يسلمك كويس.
صباح الخير يا دكتور عباس.
صباح الخير يا دكتور عباس.
دكتور مين؟ عباس. جميل بالعين. دكتور عباس. One of the three authors of your materials, yeah? محمود البطل, Kristen Brewstead, and دكتور عباس التونسي. ماشي؟
صباح النور يا أستاذة دعاء.
صباح النور يا أستاذة دعاء.
يا أستاذة دعاء.
جميل يا أستاذة دعاء. دعاء.
اتفضلي أهلا وسهلا.
تفضلي.
شكرا. ازيك
ازيك؟
حضرتك؟
الحمد لله.
بالله. ازيك انت؟
كويسة الحمد لله.
تشرب.
كويسة.
So what do we know about the relationship between these two?
No info.
Informal.
She just calls you. Oh wait, teacher and or like higher and yeah.
So he is using
And
انتي with her, but she is using حضرتك.
He doesn't respect women.
So what would you conclude about that from their relationship?
he's the higher up.
He's kind of in a higher position or in a position of respect relative to her. Maybe he's the department head, department chair. She's a professor, a younger professor. But again, if there were an older professor in the department, it might be that he would also use حضرتك with him. You know, so here I think it has something to do that she's a younger, more junior kind of. Okay, ماشي يلا. So what does he say next? خلاص, they did the ازيك part. What comes next?
لازم تشربي حاجة.
No,
لازم تشربي حاجة.
he's not going to start off with
You must drink something.
بالعربي. What's he going to ask? How's he going to offer her something to drink? عايزة تشربي حاجة. Okay, that's a possibility. أنت عايزة تشربي حاجة or
عايزة تشربي قهوة ولا شاي؟
عايزة تشربي قهوة ولا شاي. Okay, what else? Even shorter.
تشربي حاجة.
تشربي حاجة. تشربي حاجة. Okay, let's see exactly what he says.
ازيك انت؟
كويسة الحمد لله.
تشربي قهوة؟
لا
تشربي قهوة. So he's offering her قهوة.
شكرا.
لا شاي.
لا لازم تشربي حاجة.
لا لازم تشربي حاجة.
لا لازم تشربي حاجة. يلا لا لازم تشربي حاجة.
لا ولا حاجة.
لا ولا حاجة.
ولا حاجة.
What's this?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing.
ولا حاجة. ولا حاجة. Have we heard this word ولا before?
Yes.
For or. ولا. ولا حاجة. And sounded kind of the same.
ولا حاجة. لا إلا ولا شيء. والله. والله.
أيوة. والله. Remember that one? والله. Oh, والله. Oh, والله. It's different. ولا حاجة. والله. This is not ولا. Okay, but close. ماشي. فوالله حاجة. And what does she say next? Or what happens next?
مع السلامة يا أستاذ.
إيه ده? Sorry about that.
صباح.
ازيك انت؟
كويسة الحمد لله.
تشربي قهوة؟
لا شكرا.
لا لازم تشربي حاجة.
لا ولا حاجة.
شاي ولا قهوة؟
I told you. He's told him.
شاي والأحد. So in the end, what happens? He does give her a choice.
Shay.
شاي ولا قهوة. But he doesn't give her a choice about drinking something. So he doesn't accept her turning down the offer, right? So, have some of you who have lived in the Middle East, does this ring true to you?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah?
With food, yeah.
In what way?
They just keep feeding you.
You gain
So
so
like,
much weight.
well, they just like you. Even when you say no, you're like, oh, I'm full. Oh, I'm full. No, keep eating, please. Like, keep eating large chunks of meat. No, but really, I'm full.
No, it's like even more. No, because in Hebrew culture, the same thing. Like you have to say like, I can't eat anymore.
I ended up telling them, yeah. I ended up telling them, I was like, oh, I need a stomach operation to make my stomach bigger. I'm sorry. And they're like, oh, you're so funny. And then they stopped.
And then they stopped. So you did manage eventually.
Yeah, I was like, oh, haha, I really have a small stomach. Forgive me. I'll make it larger in time or something like that. And they're like, oh, okay. But it was like,
so you
no,
were,
no. I didn't say that in Arabic. That's really, I don't know how to say that in Arabic.
but you were able to find strategies that
Yeah.
actually allowed you to refuse things when you didn't
Yeah.
want them. How about you, James?
Once I ended up eating a whole half a chicken.
oh my god.
And my mother kept saying, cool, James, cool. Eating the thing. What I found to do is I would just, I would say, oh, baraka shkat, alhamdulillah. And I just keep praising the food and saying, oh, alhamdulillah, I cannot eat anymore. And then eventually after about the fourth alhamdulillah, she would say, okay.
And accept their refusal and not insist on putting something. Okay.
You have to say my stomach is exploding.
Yeah.
That's my line of choice.
Yeah. Or in Arabic, مش قادرة. I can't. Not another bite. مش قادرة. Wallahi مش قادرة. Wallahi مش قادرة. So it's a negotiation. It's really a negotiation, right? Because the host wants to make sure that it's very, very clear that there is food and that they're happy to offer it to you and that they want to make sure to overcome any possible resistance on your part or shyness about accepting food or drink from them. So that's their duty. But you can resist. I mean, this is what I ultimately discovered. You really don't have to drink multiple cups of coffee and tea all day long. Or, I mean, sometimes it's easier just to say, okay, bring it and just let it sit there. You know, eventually. I mean,
Really, really slowly.
Yes, it's something really slowly.
Do you know what the milk powder is? It's like powder, and then it starts out as powder, but I always thought it was just like warm sweetened milk, but apparently it's just powder. I don't know what it is. They call it like lemon.
Like needed.
and how is that related to what we're talking about right now?
I don't know, but they just all.
I'm waiting for the connection.
Sorry, you're right.
Okay, off task, yes, Jonathan.
Okay, so this is an honest question. If you're like asking someone to hang out or like asking a girl on a date, does this same kind of thing occur or does no mean that?
We're moving into dangerous territory here. Dangerous territory.
If I was like, hey, Camille, you want to go to the movies? She's like, oh, you must go with me. No, come on.
You've gone beyond my area of expertise here, Jonathan. I don't know that I could speak to this issue, as a matter of fact. But the point is, this is a negotiation, and I have even learned how to refuse food from my mother-in-law. Although I can tell you that took me a really, really long time because she would just simply put it on my plate. And I finally discovered that the thing that finally convinced her was when I didn't eat it after she put it on my plate. Because then she realized she couldn't put it back into the pot and it was wasted. And so eventually she started, and the way I noticed it is that she respected other people's telling her no. I finally figured this out. When we were at family dinners and there were other people in the family that said, no, I really can't, she would accept their no. I was the only one that she wasn't accepting my no from. So, again, I don't know what exactly was going on, but I think even with foreigners, there may be even more of a tendency to show hospitality and maybe they know that you're weak and you can't say no, right? So you gotta kind of stand up, but nicely, right? Nicely. But sometimes, things like this will happen too. So here's what we're gonna do. You are going to, with a partner, a little kind of a similar scene. The difference is that you're going to really try to convince this person to take something from you. And you're going to go through your entire inventory. You have a huge kitchen with every imaginable drink that you know how to say in this kitchen, and you're going to offer them everything, right? And you are going to be a little bit of a non-cooperative visitor, and you're going to keep saying, no, 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 I don't like that. No, I don't drink that. No, I don't like that. And I'll leave it up to you to decide who wins in the end. But again, we want to practice all of our, so what kinds of drinks can you offer? What do we know how to say? Ahwa, shay, asir, maya, halib, Pepsi Cola. What kind of shay though can we offer? Not just shay. Shay akhtar. Shay, aywa shay bi. Na'na. Shay b'na'na. That's a nice one for practicing your ayn. Shay b'na'na. What's shay b'na'na? Ammar wants to know. Minty. Shay b'na'na. Shay b'sukkar. Ahwa. Any different? Do we know how to say any kind of different kinds of turkey? Ahwa? Any different kinds? Did I just say turkey? Different kinds of coffee? Because one of them is ahwa Turkey. This is what I'm saying. Ahwa Turkiya. Ahwa Turkiya, the Turkish coffee. Ahwa Turkiya or ahwa Amerikiya. قهوة أمريكية أو قهوة ما فيش قهوة كورية لا في سيارة كورية. Okay, you ready? And then I'm going to ask for a couple of volunteers. I'm going to designate a couple people to do their skit for the class. ماشي? So with a partner, and let's think about activating and using some of these new, couple of these new expressions. ماشي؟ تفضلوا.
أيوة, yes, I don't like to drink.
طب مرة ثانية.
ما بحب أشرب القهوة.
Okay, so في المصري ما بحب ما بحب أنا بحب أنا ما
بحب أشرب.
اوكي انا عندي انا ما
بحب.
اوكي انا عندي انا ما What's the negative? انا عندي انا ما
oh, the negative of
انا عندي ما عندي negative of عندي أنا عندي أنا
ما
عنديش فأنا بحب أنا
ما عنديش.
okay. عندي ما عنديش بحب
ما
بحب ما عندي ما عنديش بحب ما عنديش.
Okay. عندي ما بحب عنديش. So confused.
Okay.
Wait, why am I saying I don't have? I thought I was saying I don't like.
This is how you do the negative. So it's the same way. بحب. أيوة. بحب أنا.
أنا بحبش.
أنا ما بحبش.
أشرب القهوة.
ما بحبش أشرب القهوة. جميل.
لا 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 من فضلك.
لا شكرا.
عندك قهوة سكر مظبوط ولا سكر مظبوط.
عندي.
No ولا. with ولا سكر right? Is that سكر مظبوط.
لا.
But why are you starting with عندك? I'm not understanding. يعني إيه عندك?
عندك please من فضلك عندك please have. لا.
Can't use عندك like that.
أنت عندك.
Drink.
أنت عندك.
اتفضل لا اتفضلي قهوة مزبوط بس.
اوكي. اتفضلي انت اتفضلي انت قهوة بس. only. تفضلي أنت قهوة مظبوط.
لا ما بحبش أشرب قهوة مظبوط.
You could also try I don't like, I don't want. أنا مش عايزة قهوة. أنت
عايزة تشرب
عايزة
أنت عايز تشرب إيه؟ And then when he doesn't want to drink I can just say أنت لازم تشرب حاجة. And then he would just say no, and then I would start offering like you must drink something. So أنت لازم. Okay. So أنت لازم تشرب حاجة.
لا أنا مش عايزة
مش
عايزة
مش أيوة أنا مش إيه بعد مش أنا مش إيه أنا مش عايزة عايزة أنا مش
عايز تشرب
مش عايز إيه مش عايز
تشرب
أنت تشرب أنا مش عايز تشربي أنتي أنا مش عايز
Like you don't want it.
أنا مش عايز
أشرب
أنا أشرب أنا مش عايز أشرب
تشرب شاي أكثر.
لا شكرا
تشرب عصير.
لا شكرا أنا مش عايز يلا to repeat the sentence أنا مش عايز إيه أنا مش عايز
تشرب حاجة.
ثانية واحدة أنا مش عايز أشرب for each one say أنا مش عايز أشرب to practice this okay فيلا تشرب عصير لا أنا
مش عايز sorry would you
أنا مش
I think عصير.
إيه أنا مش عايز
تشرب حاجة. تشرب حاجة. عفوا. Drink something please. تشرب حاجة.
العفو doesn't mean please okay زي نقول please
شكرا.
شكرا is thank you
طيب.
okay خلاص you don't remember it so don't try let's do something else
تشرب اسود شاي ولبن. شاي اسود ولبن.
لا أنا مش عايز شاي اسود
قهوة. تشرب قهوة ولبن.
لا
قهوة ولبن قهوة ولبن
بلبن.
أيوة بالضبط
قهوة بلبن.
لا أنا مش عايز قهوة بلبن
شكرا you have to be polite about this right شكرا لازم تشرب حاجة. ممكن تشرب ممكن تشرب مية ممكن تشرب مية.
لا شكرا أنا مش عايز
أهلا يا سايمون.
أهلا بيك.
أنت عايز تشرب حاجة؟
لا شكرا.
لا لازم تشرب حاجة.
لا ولا حاجة ولا حاجة.
ممكن أنت عايز ممكن قهوة.
أنا مش عايز.
قهوة أمريكية كويسة أوي.
لا مش عايز.
لا أنا أيوة ممكن أنت عايز شاي.
شيء ياخذ شيء بالنعناع.
لا الحمد لله.
الحمد لله. ممكن انت عايز لبن كويس طيب قوي. ايوه اتفضل.
لبن مش كويس.
مش كويس. لافو ممكن انت عايز بيبسي كولا كويس اوي.
بيبسي كولا.
ايوه اتفضل. كويس. اوكي now we're done.
Instead of spoiled milk. ماشي. One more.
I don't think I want to compete with that. That was good. Yeah.
I'm sure the other of you did a good one too. Yalla meen. Any suggestions? طيب, okay, yalla. Let's talk about expressions with Allah. هذا كفاية. So, what are the expressions that you learned for today? Close your books. أيوة. بسم الله. Okay. Can you all see this part of the board over here? You can't, can you? Okay, with a partner, take a moment to try to remember all of the expressions and how they're used, okay? So how many of them can you remember, and then discuss how you remember they were each used. MashaAllah. You guys are so smart. MashaAllah. Okay, tell me what the expressions are. MashaAllah. Right? MashaAllah. Insha'Allah. Bismillah. So the word Allah is sometimes emphatic and sometimes not. It depends. So Bismillah, bas MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. It's the only word in the language that sometimes, and they say that there's an emphatic lam that occurs in just some versions of Allah, but not all, right? So Bismillah, Insha'Allah, MashaAllah, and then just Allah by itself, Allah. Okay, well, this is the long one, right? Good. So, La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. What does this mean? There is no God but God. And this has a shadda on it. Illallah. Kamil, anything else? La ilaha illallah. Allah. Alhamdulillah. It wasn't in the list?
It wasn't in the list. It wasn't in the video.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, good. Allahu Akbar. Was that on there?
That wasn't it.
No, it wasn't. Allahu Akbar. So how about meaning of some of these? So MashaAllah, what do we use MashaAllah for?
Celebrate. Wow, good job. You have a baby. Congratulations.
Baby.
So yeah, exactly. It's that same ahlan, mashallah. So she said it about the baby. So what is she doing?
Congratulating mother.
Not really congratulating her. Just admiring. Very good. That's exactly what she was doing. She was admiring how beautiful this thing was. So you could, under what other, and why mashallah? Yes, Kate?
I think it was mashallah, but Professor had said that like it's kind of like in other cultures, like we have like the oval, like if the touch it so that nothing bad happens meanings to it. So like if somebody gets a new car, we say mashallah, like as God wills it, so that they don't take away, that car doesn't get taken away from them or something like that. I think it was that term.
And is there something about that in your book? It doesn't say anything about mashallah.
They use it a lot. I've heard it. They mentioned it a couple times in the video.
Okay, so this is very, very true. So when you are admiring something, especially something like that, like a baby, the idea is, culturally speaking, that if you admire something, a baby or something that someone has, their car, you potentially will bring the evil eye on that thing because you are calling attention to it. You know, that it's a really beautiful, wonderful thing. So, but if you do the admiration using the term mashallah, you have then invoked God's name and thus protected the person from the evil eye. So you could make someone potentially very, very uncomfortable if you walked up to them and started saying, wow, what a beautiful baby. Oh, she is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, she's gotten so much bigger since the last time I saw her. And you never say mashallah during that entire thing. You are going to have one very nervous mother in front of you. Right? So, mashallah, mashallah, and you can, you know, well, how beautiful she is, whatever, but sort of keep saying mashallah, mashallah, right? This idea. So, mashallah, what a nice, oh, this is a beautiful new car. Arabiya, jadida, kabira, mashallah, mashallah. What is what?
What's the translation?
Literal translation.
Literally, that which wills God. Ma sha'a Allah. It's the same sha as in sha'a Allah. If wills God. If God wills. So if God wills, what God wills. So in other words, this is what God has willed, right? You look at a beautiful moon. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Can you bring the evil eye on the moon? I don't think so. So sometimes, I don't think so. So in general, it's used, you know. I think in that particular context, you couldn't argue that you're trying to avoid the evil eye on the moon, right? So it's just a general, mashallah, just a general admiration, but mashallah, kwayis, yalla, inshallah, what's inshallah?
Hopefully.
When do we use inshallah?
If you hope something happens.
Inshallah, I will get that promotion.
Yeah.
So anytime, really, you talking about the future. And if you don't say inshallah, you will find that people will say it for you. So you say, hashufik bukra, I'll see you tomorrow. They'll respond, inshallah. Remember, inshallah. Okay, kwayis, inshallah. Wa bismillah. Bismillah.
With the name.
When you're starting something, like what?
Like a meal. Like an exam. Like a trip.
Starting a car.
So before you start eating, very definitely, before you start eating, bismillah, before you start to eat.
As you start praying,
They said yalla.
You don't, actually. You don't. But people, when they get up, will often, if they're like sitting on the floor or something, as they get up, they'll say bismillah, especially if they're older and it kind of hurts to get up. Oh, it's like bismillah rahman rahim. But actually, it's not used to begin praying. Do you say, what do you say? Allahu Akbar. What else can you think of that you might begin, and before you begin it? It's sort of like invoking God's name, so whatever it is that you're about to do will be successful. Driving a car.
like saying bye to people.
No, that was something else.
Yeah, Allah ma'ak, which is only shami. Actually, they don't use that. Okay. So what are the things that you begin? A test, exactly. Before you start to write a test, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. A job interview, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Anything where, yeah, exactly, Bismillah. In the Middle East documents, most formal documents, they start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You know the ar-Rahman ar-Rahim part, the most gracious, most merciful, usually translated as. So, Bismillah. Bismillah, when you start a car, come over to open the video. Bismillah, before you start it. Faddali.
There's a rapper, Mos Def, at the start of all of his albums, the first song in it has Bismillah.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, he's Muslim.
Actually, there's a very nice children's song called Bismillah, and it's all about how before we start anything, we always say Bismillah. Maybe I'll see if I can find it. Actually, it'd be a nice song to listen.
Bohemian Rhapsody a long time ago.
Really? Which one? Bismillah? Yeah. Okay. تفضل يا عمار. Lydia and Kate? Lydia and Kate? Yes? Ammar had a question?
Are expressions like this used by people of all religions in Egypt at all?
The books that like I had an interesting experience in Morocco where my host would use the word Rab, which means Lord. She said, "You're Christians, you use the word Rab instead of Allah."
Yes, the Christians, there is a tendency to use the word Rab, which is another word for God. But all of these, all of these Christians would say, maybe with the exception of this, La ilaha illallah, just because this is a direct quote, it's a verse from the Quran. So possibly this one you might not find, but you know what, I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I didn't hang out with enough Christians to sort of, and I don't know, it's just not something, I could ask. I can ask
My host
somebody.
said all that stuff, but they didn't say assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum is
like,
definitely
Muslim greeting, you don't say that.
right. That's a Muslim greeting. But I think all of these, they said all of these.
Actually, one time they told me not to say inshallah. I don't
Really?
know why. Yeah, they're like really. It was really strange. They're really Protestant. So.
Evangelical Protestants.
Yeah,
That's who Nikki lived with in Cairo. Can you believe that?
Were
Yes.
Were they like from Egypt though?
Yeah, no, they were Egyptian.
They just were.
But they had really like my host father's name was Alphonse, like, and my host sister's name was Evelyn, and like it was just really
A very unique Egyptian immersion experience that Nikki had. Okay, yalla. How about Allah?
I don't get that one.
Is that like both good and or like I remember the kid was falling, he like fell down the stairs. She's like Allah, Allah, Allah. But so is it like just Allah? Oh, me, oh my.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, in that context. But what was the other context that we heard it in on the video?
Oh yeah.
Like with her outfit, she said Allah hello, I think.
Allah hello. Yeah. Allah hello. And what was it? There was one context though where you always hear this, and you saw it on the video. He's sitting in the chair, listening to music. So as an expression for appreciation of beautiful music, always. You go to a music concert and in the audience, Allah, 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 Allah. You hear it all the time from the audience. And out loud. I mean, it's definitely encouraged, right? To encourage the musicians and the singers. I mean, they'll wait for a little pause to scream out. Okay, La ilaha illallah. When do we hear this? La ilaha illallah. Bad news, right? Right. So if somebody was on the phone and you heard them say La ilaha illallah, you would know that they had just heard some kind of bad news. Mish, did you have any questions about any of these?
Wait, what about that one? Oh,
There's another one that is not on there. Smallah, smallah, smallah. Which is, it's kind of like smallah, smallah, smallah. And I used to, did you ever hear this in Morocco, Ariel? No. Smallah. And they use this a lot in Tunis. And this is instead of Allah, 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 Allah. Like when somebody's falling or tripping or something, Allah, Allah, Allah. They use this, smallah, 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 smallah. Smallah, smallah. Used it in Egypt though, and my husband laughed at me. He said it's sad, but people use it all the time. It's just kind of considered colorful language. It's like, I mean, people use it all the time, but it's just a certain class of people that use it.
Oh, that's what it said in the book. Something like sometimes you can use Allah in like a curse word, or not a curse word, but like an oath, sorry, or like swearing. It's not. I thought it was.
Wallahi.
Like,
yeah, wallahi. Wallahi.
So it means like swearing, right? I wasn't like this, like an oath.
To swear an oath.
Right.
Swear an oath.
Oh, an
You're
oath.
swearing an oath.
Okay.
Yeah, like wallahi. Wallahi. I swear to God. Wallahi.
That's bad.
I swear by God.
Is that why you mean by
People do it all the
colorful?
time.
When it says Smallah?
Yeah, is that like, do you mean is it like a bad word sort of? Or
No, it's just something that. Smallah alik, smallah. I don't know how to explain this. I don't want to say lower class. I don't want to say uneducated because this is not true. It's not true. It just has a very colloquial feel to it, and it's a little bit. They call it beladi. It's not sophisticated. So, you know, but it's heartfelt, you know? It's heartfelt. Smallah, you know, like, which I think is fine. I didn't mind using heartfelt language, even though some people would, you know, not sophisticated, but it's a nice thing.
My grandpa uses it a lot, actually.
Smallah.
Like, if we're not feeling good, or if he just like is so happy to see us, he just goes shmala and kisses our foreheads, like.
Really?
He actually says it like with an SH or like
Shmallah. Ah, that's interesting. I wonder where the sheen comes from. Shmallah.
Yeah, it's just from like.
That's interesting. Okay. We have 2 minutes, not very much time. Enough time to do a couple little scenarios. Try to get at least 2 or 3 expressions with Allah into your scenarios. Yes? Yalla, tfaddalo.